This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to the Human Animal Connection Show, where we believe we can communicate with all animals. Join us as we explore the 33 principles and healing methods of the human animal connection. As animal lovers, we know that you share our commitment to making the world a kinder place for all creatures. Together, let's embrace the transformative healing power of the human animal connection.
Hello, and welcome to the Human Animal Connection Show. So glad you're with us. And I have a wonderful guest with me today. I have Mindy Dutka, and she's done so much good stuff for dogs through her art and photography, and over 20 years with corporate experience, marketing, leadership, event planning, fundraising, and sales. So she helps businesses and animal rescue organizations tell their stories through compelling photography. And she's the founder of Dogs I Meet, and her goal is to bridge dog advocacy and brand marketing through story-driven dog photography. So aloha, Mindy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So tell me, how do you use storytelling and photography to bridge this gap of animal advocacy? I know you do some wonderful work with a rescue organization in Mexico. So tell us about your work.
So lots of different aspects, but I've kind of married all of my loves together and my passions. And as we all know, the global pet market, it's just, exploding. I think it's $260 something billion globally right now. So There's a lot of money that goes into marketing, and a lot of money and a lot of interest, new products and new foods, all kinds of things are coming out all the time, new technology, changes in veterinary practices. And I feel like all that money and all that advertising and all that marketing, dogs who are the animals that are the star of the show. And that's why, they're driving that gravy train. Right. And there's not often a direct flow of any of that, money to helping with rescues, shelters, and dogs in need. And it's a perfect match for collaborations and so forth. So one simple example is that, I photograph for brands, pet brands, and all brands, actually. When you add in dogs, it adds a great component. But I have a program where instead of using dog models, the dog models are actually rescue dogs from shelters that I'm using as the models. So there's a collaboration between the rescue, the brand that I'm working for, and then I'm doing photographs that are, telling the story of the brand and for whatever compelling reason is behind the campaign that I'm doing. I, work out all of the details and figure out my shot list and so forth. But there's so many benefits to using a dog from a shelter. And part of the package is that the brand that's paying part of my fee is a portion of it goes directly to the shelter, for use of the dog.
Yes.
And because I need some cooperation, the shelter has to, be on board also to sort of do their part, whether it's having a volunteer bring the dog to where I need to do the shoot. And then there's an understanding between all parties that the photos that I take through social media or content will be shared throughout everybody's social channels. So it's great for the brands. They're going to get more exposure. It's a rich story that they're telling. It's the story of their brand, but it's a story of that they really care. It gives them, authenticity, and that they're really, walking their talk.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for everybody. That's one type of program that I can put together. I actually did I worked with Virgin Hotels in New York and a wonderful pet treat company called Shameless Pets that does all kinds of great things. And we decided, I asked them, let me get 2 rescue dogs that that have been in the system for over a year trying to be adopted. And let's make them the stars of this photo shoot. And for that, I worked with 2 different rescues. Each of the dogs came from a different rescue. And I photographed them in different locations. It was Virgin is a pet-friendly hotel. And they have a collaboration with Shameless Pets. So when you check in with a dog, you also get Shameless Pets treats. So this was a collaboration between all of these different companies and the shelters. And the 2 dogs were, one of them, actually, the Virgin Hotels has a gorgeous red, beautiful staircase. So I did a shoot with one of them. Both of the dogs were male. I did one with one of the dogs, and I called it the Cinderfella shoot. He had a little tutu on, and there was a shoe on the step and the treats, and it was him running down, looking for his prince home, or whatever you want to call it. It's his home. So anyway, there are a lot of wonderful pictures. Everybody pushed out on their social channels, this campaign. So there was a lot of exposure, and ultimately both of the dogs got adopted. Which was wonderful. And I will say, as you so well know, it takes a village, It does. So it was a piece of what helped them. They got exposure. The rescues were doing it, what they do. There was a lot of different things going on. But the dog that I just mentioned on the stairs wound up getting exposure on Susie Seniors, which is an organization that focuses on senior dogs, helping them get exposure. And that's had found that first dog, and he still didn't get adopted. So Susie Seniors did another go round, another promotion, and they talked about the story of how a photographer saw the first post and invited the dog to, be part of this shoot. And they used the photos that I took, and that his future adopter or future home said there was something about the photo that she just connected with, and he was adopted. So they've both been adopted, and it's a wonderful story and a win for everybody, and it just, to me, makes so much sense.
Yes. Now, are you doing still photos only, or also video, or what do you do?
I focus on still phone photos only. But for something like that shoot, I do have somebody that works with me and does some video. So because now the content is real, so it depends on the package. To get the behind the scenes.
Right. That's excellent. Well, I definitely have seen that with sometimes at the shelters, the photos are not that great. They're getting better, but they're not that great. And when I go and take some really loving photos that show the eyes and show the connection and all that, it's kind of irresistible. So tell us what you think, what makes an irresistible dog photo?
I feel like it's a connection of seeing the dog and the photographer. And the dog, there is a connection. And I always like I meet the dog where it's at. One thing that dog photographers do, and it's a tip to people, is get down on the dog's level.
Yes.
When you are eye level with the dog, it's a photo that shows the dog's world versus what we call it in owner's view, down at the dog in a photograph.
Right.
So, that there's a connection. The eyes, as you mentioned, are definitely the focus. And the dog needs to be comfortable. The dog is giving you these non-verbal, if you look at a dog that's scared and doesn't know what's happening, and their tail's down and their ears are down, I don't photograph that. You got to wait, and you have to be super patient.
Yes.
To be, you can't expect a dog to just rush in, like a student, when they do the school photos and they push them in and smile and move on. It doesn't work like that. You got to give the dog a little bit of time to especially if you're photographing shelter dogs. They're terrified.
Right. Yes.
You really have to spend some time giving them some treats and making sure that they're relaxed, and you want to catch them at a moment where, they're feeling good, and you can see that versus that scared feeling.
Right. Scared.
So I think that's a big part of it. And whether I'm photographing for brands, whether I'm photographing for, families that have dogs, or I'm photographing for shelter dogs, it's really read the dogs, cues and go with that.
Yes.
And they need a break. They need a rest. They, need some water. Actually, modeling is very hard work for them. There's a lot of,
it's a lot of undogged behaviors that they have to do.
Right. And especially if I come at them with my big camera,
right.
Now they don't see my face. They just see scary
thing,
Sure. So I spend time deconditioning them, and I'll sit with them, and I just put the camera to the side and click and give them a treat, and click and give them a treat. So then, they connect. Oh, the camera's not such a bad thing.
Right. It's a treat device.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So really, the biggest thing is patience, and really, understanding dogs and following their cues.
Yeah. Now, when you go to the shelter, are you often the one picking the dogs, or they pick the dogs, or it's a joint decision? How do you pick?
A joint decision. Like I'll let them know, like if for example, one time I was doing a photo shoot for a dog toy brand, and I knew I needed a dog that liked toys and was going to respond if I threw a toy. So I would, who do you have? that is going to be excited to play with toys, kind of thing. So they know their dogs better than I do. So it's definitely a bit of a joint decision,
right?
So get selected.
Yeah, well, I imagine you've gotten pretty good at kind of reading the dogs and seeing what stress level they're at, or creating that bond and connection, making them feel that you're a safe person quickly. I imagine you've gotten some good habits going. And those of you watching on video, that was Bailey walking through the frame. Yeah. Well, that's really great. They know if a person is good or a person is safe.
They really do. And they just seem to understand, and I think, honestly, that my love of dogs is key.
Yeah, they feel it.
Getting the photos that I get. And you'll see, each dog doesn't look the same. So each dog has its own little personalities, and capturing that in film, or digital, whatever you want to call it these days. It is important. And that's really, you want to get the spirit and the essence of the dogs. And they're so expressive in different ways.
They really are. I mean, it's, every dog is unique. Every dog has a different story, but every dog has a different personality. And, can you tell us a story of maybe a dog that was a little shy at first and how you won them over? Really?
It's very helpful when they are food motivated.
Yes, it really helps a lot.
They're not all food motivated. And sometimes the best shots, I'll plan for what I think that I want. But they have to be open, because it's the old story of a dog, how they live in the moment, and when I least expect it, the dog is doing something that I didn't expect. That makes the best shot. I've captured something, that I didn't anticipate, but I was open to. So that's an important factor. And, it's interesting because even I've done photographing. I do a lot of rescue work, and I do some work in Mexico. I've worked in Cartagena. I've been to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, because again, photos tell stories, and people don't know what's happening. So it's a great way to create awareness and raise funds. But it's interesting because a lot of these dogs, I almost don't even have to win them over. I don't know. They're I'm so surprised at how loving they are and how open they are to just they get a sense. The dogs know that I'm their friend.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Well,
I guess especially the street dogs, the ones that learned the humans can be helpful. What do I need to do to get a good connection going on? So tell us about the work in Mexico. That's really fascinating.
So I've been working, my most recent project is I've been working with a group of rescues in Playa del Carmen, and they have been their goal is a 5-year goal. They're on the end of year 2 now, to do monthly spay-neuter clinics for the community. So it's free to the community, but they're not free. So I've been helping them, fundraise, they do 400, goal is 400 dogs per clinic, and they do a 3-day clinic every month. So they've started this the beginning of 2022, and I think they are at about 8,000 dogs and cats that they spayed and neutered. So if you follow it through and they're able to get enough funds and do this till the end of the 5 years, that will make a significant difference in the landscape of the amount of, dogs, homeless dogs, and even dogs, because the culture is different. So dogs that belong to families, they tend to live outside because they live in very small houses and have the family, and, they care for the dog and they love their dogs, but they are roaming the streets. So it's a mix of, stray dogs and dogs that have a home that are creating all of this huge population.
Right.
But once they can get that under management, then they can focus more on, a core amount of dogs and cats and helping give them proper care. But these clinics that they're doing are mostly people who have their dogs and cats, and they're taking them to these clinics, and they're so grateful. And that's the story. I was down there in May, and that was the story that I wanted to tell, is that they're people that love their animals, and they're doing the best that they can. And they guess, they can't afford to have them spay neutered, but they want to do that. So they wait online for hours.
Wow.
An 8-hour process to bring your pet to one of these things. You have to wait online, to be one of the 400 that they can take. You get registered, then you wait until you're called for the spay neuter. And then they are actually the owners are the people that sit with the dogs and the cats while they are coming out of their anesthesia.
Good.
It's and the love, and it's such a valuable thing. I can't even put it into words. There's so many lessons. It's educational, which is the key. There's young children that are there. Everybody is well behaved. Everybody is grateful that they have the opportunity to take care of their pets through this community helping community.
Right.
And the photos that I have, I'll send you some so you can disperse it, but you can see these are animals that are cared for, that are loved. They just need someone to give them a break and and take care of, so they can get a rabies vaccination, and they get spay neutered at these clinics, and you just see the connection.
It's beautiful
through the photos. So that in those photos, I'm more of just an invisible observer,
a documentary.
Documenting, what's in front of me. And you just look at the photos and you just,
I've seen some of them. They're beautiful. So
it's really amazing. And, it's a wonderful thing. And, if we can help them continue to do this, then we should.
Exactly right. Well, that's a wonderful story. We're going to take a really short break. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Hey friends, if you like what you're hearing and want to learn more, check out Dr. Joseph's book, The Human-Animal Connection, Deepening Relationships with Animals and Ourselves. Or visit the website, thehumananimalconnection.org, to book an online consultation. Thank you for loving animals. Now back to the show.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to the Human Animal Connection, where we're speaking with Mindy Dutka and about her wonderful work photographing dogs everywhere, shelter dogs, people's dogs that live with them at home, and helping down in Mexico with dogs that getting spayed and neutered. So it's so wonderful, the work that you're doing, and I hope people will get a chance to take a look at your pictures. Well, let's just give them your website now while we're thinking about it. What's your website?
Great. So it's dogsimeet.com. And my Instagram is @dogsimeet. And Facebook is, I think if you type in Dogs I Meet, you'll get it, but I think it might be Dogs I Meet Pet Photography.
Well, we know that, a good photograph can really open people's hearts and touch them, and, in a shelter context can change the course of a dog's life. That photo can make the difference between a person really sensing that dog's spirit and saying, I got to have that dog, got to go get that dog today. Let's talk about some tips for people either who are volunteers in shelters or working with their own dogs about how to get the best photo. If you're not a professional like yourself, what can we do?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's also really understanding the need of how important a photograph is, because I know that shelters run on overwhelm, and it's kind of one crisis after another, and it's volunteers, and they don't often have time to make photography an important component. But I urge them. It's very, very important, the photography piece of having that good photo, because often, it's an afterthought. The dogs come in, they do their intake, the dogs are dirty, the dogs are terrified. They put them in often a cinder block, poorly lit cell, and that's the photo that they show. And what that says to people, and it's such the wrong message, is that, shelter dogs are broken. Shelter dogs aren't broken. Shelter dogs are just dogs that have been failed by humans.
Yes. Yes.
and they wound up there. They just haven't been given the opportunity to become the dog that they are. So if you kind of want to look at it in terms of, let's talk about like real estate, when like you're selling a house or you're staging house, you want people to be, not everybody has the ability to visualize. So they need things shown to them. So you want people to be able to come into a house and like visualize themselves living there. Same thing. You want people to be able to look at that dog or that cat and visualize that dog as your family dog, that dog playing with your children, that dog sitting on your couch. So the more you can give the dog a little bit of a chance to decompress, like understand this is part of how you're helping that dog to ultimately get adopted. So it depends on the type of shelter you have and where it is. I've worked at shelters in New York City. So those dogs are taken, you got to find a place and make a little studio with lighting. But I've also worked with many shelters, up in New England that happen to be on a beautiful grounds with woods and places that are very pretty. If you can, get the volunteer, get the person who's photographing and take the dogs to a lovely spot, that will make a big difference.
Yes.
So you want to think about where you're taking the dogs, and you really want to try to give it a little bit of time, not like, oh my God, I have, 5 minutes for this dog, bring the next dog in. Change your mindset.
Yeah.
And, whether you're using an iPhone or whether somebody is using, digital expensive camera, either way, iPhones are great. So a few different examples are, number one, your lighting. So particularly whether it's inside or outside, whether it's inside, you want to set up some kind of, either use natural lighting, is for me is always the best, but you may have no windows, you may have no natural light. Right. So you want to set up some kind of lighting that is going to be on the dog. You want to get down on the dog's level. If possible, depending on the different size of the dog. If it's a small dog, you want to have something that's comfortable for the dog to be on. And you're generally always going to have somebody, that dog's going to be on a leash. And so you want someone to be like standing on to the side of the dog, holding the leash in a way. It's not that difficult now. You can go on Canva, you can do all kinds of things and remove the leash and remove the person. Or if that's not possible, then make it a sweet, loving shot with whoever is handling the dog. So it's more of a human animal, interaction. So either way, and you want to do a few different photos of the dog so that people can get a sense of their size. You want them sitting, you want them standing, you want them a little closer. So you want to be a few different pictures to show so people can really get a sense of what the dog is, and maybe to scale if it needs to be. So, because sometimes you take a picture of a big dog, you don't realize it, or a small dog. So if you can do something like that. When you're outside and you're photographing the dogs, again, you don't want to, if at all possible, earlier or later, so you're not in the harsh sun. Maybe that's not possible and it is the middle of the day. In that case, look for a shaded spot that still has some nice light around it, but there's not harsh sunlight hitting the dog.
Right.
I use my top secret is one of those squeakers that come inside the dog. You can actually buy them by the bag on Amazon.
Yeah.
Use them. Don't overuse them. Wait till you're ready and you're prepared and you're ready to hit that, shutter, whether it's a phone or a camera. One squeak.
Right. Just one.
If you do it too much, the dog won't understand. And it's also possible, you got to know the dog, because you're working with scared dogs. So that maybe a dog that sound scares them. So, get a sense of that. But you want to do just one squeak, not squeak, 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 because it'll desensitize. They won't pay attention to that.
Doesn't have any meaning. Right.
Your focus is on their eyes.
Right.
So, and on an iPhone, like a few tips. One, really easy one. I got my phone here. Clean your lens. People never think to clean the lenses, but if you think about it, this is in your pocket, this is in your purse, this is wherever. It's still functioning as a camera with a lens.
Right.
So clean your lens.
How do you clean a phone lens?
Kind of the same way you clean your eyeglasses.
Okay.
Soft microfiber.
Yeah.
And clean the lens. And if you have your camera ready to go and you focus on something and you put you probably can't see it, but if you touch it lightly, because you don't want to move, you'll see a little box and the focus is on there. So people rarely think to actually hit that's kind of
focus.
The focus button on your phone.
Yeah.
Be careful that you're not moving the phone, but you just lightly tap. And so you got the eye in focus. Then you're going to push the shutter.
Yes. Okay.
So that's a few tips. And again, on the dog's level.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
And if there's something, a toy or
toys,
or something. The other thing is if you have an extra person behind you, people always stand off to the side and call the dog's name. That's good. Distracted.
Right.
You want that person to be right behind your head so that dog is looking at you as you're taking a picture. And then, maybe they're holding up a treat or maybe they're the ones that squeak if you have an extra person. It depends on how many people you have. But you don't want someone standing to the side calling the dog's name or doing something like that, because that's distracting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. So let's say when you're in a professional context, what do you have an assistant? Do you go by yourself? What do you take? What's your gear?
Well, usually I occasionally have an assistant, but more often than not, I don't have an assistant. So the owner, if it's a private shoot, so I use the owner of the dogs. And if it's a brand shoot, then I bring, a handler and an assistant with me.
Right.
So because you're going to need safety first in whatever you're doing. I never put a dog in a situation where you're just going for the shot and a dog's uncomfortable about it.
Right. Right.
Most of the photos that I take, she was running free, but most of them you can't see. People are always like, my dog won't stand still, or where did you get that? A lot of them do have a human and a leash that I have done the magic of Photoshop and removed.
Okay.
So that's often, but you want them to stand properly so that you can easily remove them. You need them to sort of stand aside. You don't want the leash pulled so that the collar is pulling. Has to look natural when you remove it.
Right.
And then I often will just do it myself with the squeaker. Or if I have two people, I'll have the person behind me.
Yes.
So sometimes the owners are more difficult to wrangle because no matter how much I tell them, calling their dog.
Yeah.
Off to the side.
Right.
And again, like I said, I will give a lot of breaks, and if it is a dog and I'm in a safe place that can go without a leash, that's good. Sometimes dogs, I'll put them on a leash, because I can't control them. Otherwise, I can't get them to be in the spot that I want to be. And I actually use a very thin leash. I bring my own leashes to the chute, so it's an easier leash for me to remove.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Well, this has been so much fun talking with Mindy Dudka, and she is a professional dog photographer that works with different pet brands and has a wonderful model of supporting the rescues, brands supporting the rescues, and great photography. So give us your website one more time.
dogsimeet.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mindy. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah. And we'll see you on the next show. Thank you for tuning in to the Human Animal Connection.
Thank you for tuning in to the Human Animal Connection show. Please visit our website, thehumananimalconnection.org. There you can sign up for our free email newsletter, book a consultation, or check out our blogs and resources. Our best-selling book, The Human Animal Connection, is available on Amazon. And your donation of any amount keeps our nonprofit organization providing life-changing services. You can reach Michael Overly, author of Let Your Dog Lead, Musings on How to Create an Exceptional Life, on his website at dogsandmen.com or email michael@dogsandmen.com.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.